Here she comes, look at her roll. There she goes, eating that coal. Watch her fly, hugging the rail. Let her by the fireball mail.
This is the story of the Preston Railroad. It is based on the wonderful little book, History of Crelin, Maryland. It was written by Robert C. Schaefer and published in 1976. There were two periods in the history of the Preston Railroad. It had the same name as Preston County, through which most of the railroad ran. Preston County was named after James Patton Preston, 20th governor of Virginia from 1816 until 1819. The first period was the logging period, and it ran from 1891 until 1925. It was during this period the railroad had the most mileage running down into Tucker County, with over 100 miles of track. Crelin, Maryland grew as a boom town as a result. The second period was the coal mining period, which ran from about 1915 until 1960, when the railroad ceased operations. The coal mines were in Preston County, West Virginia, and Garrett County, Maryland. The Preston Railroad operated in Garrett County, Maryland, and Preston and Tucker counties in West Virginia. These are located in the northeast region of West Virginia and in the far western edge of Maryland. These are near the southern border of Pennsylvania. The Preston Railroad was a short-line coal and lumber railroad which operated from 1891 to 1960. During the logging period, it crisscrossed the Maryland-West Virginia line between Garrett and Preston counties. It then extended into Tucker County through Schaefertown and Leadmine. At its furthest extension south, it came within a few miles of Parsons and St. George. On this diagram, the Preston Railroad is in black and the B&O is in red. The railroad's connected with an exchange track in Hutton, Maryland. The B&O has now become the CSX. This is a diagram of the exchange track at Hutton. The Preston Railroad train would pull into the exchange track with either loads of finished lumber or loads of coal. The B&O train would pull up with empties and do the exchange. Snowy Creek. Before the railroads, logging was limited to trees fairly close to rivers and streams. Logs would float downstreams to the sawmills. An early sawmill in the 1850s was located on Snowy Creek. A log dam about 4 feet high was built across the creek to harness the power through a mill race to a flutter wheel. It drove a saw with an up and down motion which cut wood relatively slowly compared with later steam-powered mills. Southern excursion. The Preston Railroad continued southward, putting out numerous branches along the way. By 1920, the railroad had passed across Preston County, continuing deep into Tucker County, West Virginia. In Tucker County, a small town named Schaefertown, West Virginia, was established to serve the Kendall Lumber Company. This town was used as field headquarters to manage southernmost timber operations. Near Schaefertown, the railroad had 4 branches, 3 running northwest along Horseshoe Run, 12-Mile Run, and Thunderstruck Run, and 1 southwest along Leadmine Run. The main line continued southwest toward St. George, West Virginia. Eventually, 1 branch of the railroad approached within a few miles of St. George, and another branch came to within 6 miles of Parsons, West Virginia. Switchbacks. As the railroad extended southwest beyond Schaefer and Leadmine, it encountered increasingly more difficult and dangerous terrain. On Hill Run below Leadmine, the mountains were so steep that 2 switchbacks were required to reach Location Ridge, where the timber was being cut. The use of switchbacks enabled the locomotives to zigzag up the mountain. The Preston Lumber Company built the first lumber mill at Crelin in 1891. Logs were hauled as far as 40 miles from Tucker County. The mill was destroyed by fire in 1902 and rebuilt. In 1905, the Preston Lumber and Coal Company sold their vast enterprises to Mr. Jacob L. Kendall and Samuel A. Kendall. Thus, the name of the mill changed to be the Kendall Lumber Company. This is Figure 2. Sawmill built by Preston Lumber and Coal Company in 1891-92. The Kendall Sawmill was the largest sawmill in Maryland. Notice the woman on the back porch and the little boy in the backyard at play. Figure 3. Engine number 4 alongside the original sawmill. Now, in the photo, right to left, are Samuel Kelper, Joseph Uphold, an unidentified individual, Jack Wilt, Mr. Gray, and Charles Weaver. Figure 4. The new sawmill, completed in 1903, was powered by 3 steel boilers and could produce 75,000 feet of lumber daily. Figure 8. This is the Kendall Lumber Company as it appeared after remodeling in 1907. It was steam-driven with 3 boilers. It had a 64-inch circular saw and an 8-foot bandsaw. Figure 11. The log slip at the remodeled sawmill. Men at the bottom, left to right, Charles Reed, Joseph U. Uphold, Lois Uphold, and Louis Fairchild. White-haired man at the top is Tobias Kilmer.